Hey Aries, how's it going? I'm here to do the first half, straight off the bat, first half of March 2019 general read for Aries only. I'm going to do, use an extra 2 decks because this is sort of a bigger general read. Cards for March 2019, first half for Aries, please. So astrologically, we have a couple movements in the first 15 days. We have, interesting, we have Venus goes into Aqua on Aquarius, rather the 1st of March. Mercury goes retrograde at 29 Pisces, so that's an anuretic degree. You know, it's like just as something was about to end, it decides to go back. And it will retrograde up until 16, gosh, the cards are fast today. Retrograde up till 16 degrees. Now on the 6th, so the day after Mercury goes retrograde, there's a new moon in Pisces. The new moon is at 15 degrees. So Merc goes retrograde at 29. It will retrograde to 16. And the new moon is on 15 degrees Pisces. So, you know, that's interesting that there's like a step forward. It's like almost going back to the beginning, but actually something new starts from like a leapfrog, you know. I don't know how to explain that. Also because on the same day, Uranus goes into Taurus. So there's a piece of a story that you may think you're going to have to redo, but you're not going to. Now let me tell you a little bit about the 2 extra decks that I'm using this time. This is the Crystal Mandala Oracle by Alana Fairchild. Just gives some nice extra little coloring for the advice. And then the other one is the Enchanted Map by Colette Baron-Reid, which I like for sort of like saying where we are on our journey. Let me pull 3 cards from the tarot for first half of the month, 1st to the 15th for Aries, March 2019. Please give me 3 cards for the first half of the month for Aries. Okay. Oop, I'll take it. Interesting. Okay, something's done. Lots of options. Lots of communications. Let me check the rest of these and I will be with you in a second. Okay, so first, my absolute favorite things about the tarot. So this card says service, and this is the card of empowered service, right? This one is a 25. And so is this one. This one is a 5. This one's a 15. This has a bird. This has a bird. This has 2. This has 2. It's such, and all of the messages in the cards are more or less the same thing. And it's very Piscean in its nature. So let's go through one by one. This is the card of limitless, unlimited. It means that you have the potential to be whatever you want. And you may be in a moment that you are starting to realize that, or you may be in a moment where you're afraid that that's not the case. You know, there may be some concern that actually you're very limited. And in truth, that's not the case. There are plenty of options. These 2 talk about, obviously, being of service. Now, what they all said in each one of them, this metamorphosis talks about a change happening, as does this. And it says that very frequently, which may be this moment right here, very frequently we go through, particularly when we're in spiritual lessons, we go through times where it looks like absolutely nothing is happening. And I'm reminded of there's a quote by Anais Nin that says, and the time came when it was too uncomfortable to stay in the bud, and the bud had to flower. And so if you think about when a flower blooms, you don't see it. There's a whole lot of period of nothing that the flower is stuck inside. And then one day it just flourishes. And so all of these cards talk about that some of the toughest lessons on Earth can be when you've been plugging away at something for a very long time and you don't see any evidence of progress. And so perhaps you think that you're going down the wrong path. Perhaps you're confused by what you should do. Maybe you think that what you had as your focus wasn't the right one. Maybe you should be focusing on something else. And what these cards are saying, we've been talking about clarity a lot for the last couple of weeks. But what it says is that there will be communication. There will be some sort of sign that allows you to understand or to get a clue of the metamorphosis that's happening within and without. Now, it does suggest that there may be some changes that are required, that something may need to be given up. Once the internal change is done, something may manifest on the external that will require you to fully step into that. Perhaps there's a relationship that needs to be let go of. Perhaps there's a job that needs to be let go of. Perhaps you have to move somewhere in order to fulfill whatever this destiny of service is. But the message that comes across in all of these cards is that if you've been working on a project that is service oriented and is in some way, shape, or form helpful to humanity, the confirmation is that you are 100% on the right path and do not give up. Now, there may be, as this suggests, there may be some sort of form shift that needs to take place, probably most likely in your thinking or how you approach the situation. Perhaps you thought you were focused on one thing and now you're confused. And if you're thinking, wait a second, maybe I should have been focused elsewhere, what these cards are saying to me is actually what you were focused on before is the correct thing. Do not get lost in your options. Have faith, have trust that the one you have is the right one. Okay? And that whatever it is that you're working on actually has this unlimited potential. It could be much more. Maybe you think it's one and actually it could be 7 things. So instead of getting confused by the options, perhaps this actually transforms into something bigger than you had originally imagined. So don't be afraid of the necessary transitions, the necessary changes, the necessary alterations, particularly for something to grow, because the options are unlimited. And you'll get communication of this, that this is the case. And it may come through divine messaging, but pay attention to the signs and the signals. Last week we got that your advice was going to come through friends, and this card suggests that you just sort of pay attention to things that are meaningful to you. So I look for links, right? And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards that are 5s. I have 2 that are 25, 2 that talk about services. So these are the clues to me personally. And this reading, I hope it speaks to you because it's clear as day to me. So this is the way I understand the messages from the divine. Pay attention to whatever yours are, because there is a message in there. And it's possible that, you know, as we said, with this new moon starting at 15 degrees, that whatever that idea that you had right before Mercury entered into its shadow, which was on the 19th of February. No, so whatever was going on up until March 18th, that idea is right. Mercury retro will have you tweak some pieces. Maybe something needs to change a little bit. Maybe you need to call different people. Maybe you need to think about how this idea could be transformed into others. You know, what other unlimited potentials does it have? That may be the phase that you go through during this Mercury retrograde. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because just because something needs tweaking doesn't mean it's dead, you know? The idea or whatever it is that you've got going on has tremendous potential. There's just a shape shift, a small shape shift that needs to happen in order for it to really reach its own potential. And even if you don't yet see that in the physical, if your thoughts are changing, if your mind is shifting, because we've had that in the last couple of weeks, that it's very much about a shift in perspective as opposed to physical. And Venus in Aquarius will help this tremendously, because that new point of view from the Aquarian way above, seeing over, you know, looking from above, below, is going to help you illuminate, right? This is also kind of a Uranian, the bird looking down at the information from below. So take a higher perspective on whatever situation that you have going on. Yes, it's going to require a little bit of transformation. It doesn't mean it's over. Keep faith, keep trust. Uranus into Taurus is going to bring earthquakes. It's going to shake the ground. So even things that we thought may have been fixed in Earth are going to start to move and shift. So that transit is going to start bringing about new ways of building, new ways of thinking about things, by shaking the ground, by shaking the foundations. So, faith, trust, keep your perspective up as high as possible. Don't think about what can't be. Think about what else could be. Assume that you are on the right path. And if you were on the right path, 100, like if you knew that what you were doing was going to be successful, what would you do? That's the kind of thinking that needs to be invited right now. How can this be more of service? How can this empower in greater dimensions, right? So whatever it is that you're working on or that you're thinking about, how can it be of more service to more people? And then what are the changes that to make it more unlimited? What changes would be necessary to make that happen? Okay. That's it. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you again for the new moon reading and for the rest of the March reading. Take care. Bye.